conversation. No, I'm not your type of baby, listen, I'm just saying. We can rule the world, just me and you if you quit playing. Won't you take that chance with me and have that conversation? I just wanna have that conversation with you. Come and talk to me. I just wanna have that conversation with you. See, we vibing and you know it's true. Baby, what it do? Do for me and I'ma do for you. No doubt about it, Boosie. I'm a Midwest king, looking for myself a queen. Ready to chase a dream with a dope self-esteem. You find it in all I know, and that's for real. You get to shaking that ass on the floor, and I see what's real. No disrespect, I just tell it like it is. Do you ever want some kids? What your ultimate goals? Maybe I can help with those. The mo was broke when he made you a blessing. You looking like a whole buffet, and I need some seconds. You say you had promiscuous ways, that was back in the day. I'll be alive, I say I did it, that shit was a phase. So baby, take this journey with me. You can pick the time and place, this nigga isn't picky. Smile on your face, I know the deal. Sign and deliver after seal. I can see it in her eyes, this one right here for real. I just wanna have a conversation. No, I'm not your type of baby, listen, I'm just saying. We can rule the world, just me and you if you quit playing. Won't you take that chance with me and have that conversation? I just wanna have that conversation with you. Come and talk, yeah. I just wanna have that conversation with you. Lady, you so far ahead of these others, just like a ship on the horizon. Picking up on your vibe, signal stronger than Verizon. All the thoughts that I've been contemplating, ain't no time for faking or debating. You the one, ain't no mistaking. Look, I see you swag different. Always carry yourself like you ready, you know the mission. I had to know you, I'm tempted. I can see why you timid. Hold up now, baby, listen. Just take that dance with me, I can show you that there's a difference. I'm locked in. I throw away my playaways because you pop in. A shooter always shoot a shot. With you by my side, I guarantee we'll reach the top. I put that on God and then I give you all that I got. So baby, take this journey with me. You can pick the time and place, this nigga isn't picky. Smile on your face, I know the deal. Sign and deliver after seal. I can see it in her eyes, this one right here for real. I just wanna have a conversation. No, I'm not your type of baby, listen, I'm just saying. We can rule the world, just me and you if you quit playing. Won't you take that chance with me and have that conversation? I just wanna have that conversation with you. Come and talk, yeah. I just wanna have that conversation with you. Come and talk to me.
Welcome to the Behind Them Sticks podcast, brought to you by TS.
All right, everybody. Welcome to another fantastic episode of Behind Them Sticks with your boy Ham Solo 05 Gaming here on the TSWS Gaming YouTube channel. Thanks so much for being here. Those of you in the chat, I see Sir X-Man Graphics God, Dragonheart Yobi, HTK360. What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for arriving. Those of you that have just arrived, if you haven't said anything in the chat yet, go on ahead and hit that like button. If you enjoy this type of stuff, hit that subscribe button. But anyways, I wanted to go on ahead and introduce my fantastic guest this evening, and he goes by which name? Italian Clowns or 4GQ TV?
Yeah, both.
Both. Okay, that's what we got today. We got both. We got one man, two names. What's cracking, brother? How are you doing today? Thank you. Like I said just moments ago before we got onto the show back in the green room, I said thank you so much for being on, and I want to say it live as well. I appreciate you for pulling up and seeing what's going on and talking to your boy Ham Solo.
Yeah, thanks, man, for having me. It's a pleasure being here. I love the content you produce. Always positive, fun, engaging. So, yeah, thank you for having me, man.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. I've heard really good things about you through not only just like Lemon, but from many other people saying that you're just a really inviting person in the community, positive things to say. I've also checked out some of your content as well before I came here because I had to do a little bit of my homework. And you've done some insane interviews with some people, have had a lot of traffic around your profile. So going ahead and shout it out, let everybody know what platforms that you are on, and then also let them know where you like to game. Go ahead.
All right. Well, Italian Clowns on Twitter. We also have 4GWQ podcast on Twitter as well. Someone needs to run that though one day. And then 4GQ TV on YouTube. And
Awesome.
where I like the game, I play on everything. I don't really, how do I say this? I prefer Xbox, but I play on everything.
There you go. That's how you do it. I like the way you're walking, sir, because that's the way I'm talking. I'm loving it. But anyways, let's keep this dang thing moving because I'm really excited to ask you some of these questions and whatnot. And I sent you the questions, but sometimes the way you answer questions makes me have other questions. So just be aware of that when you're like, hold on a second, that wasn't on the list. I have a lot of questions I ask a lot of different people that weren't on the list. So just beware of that. But let's go on ahead and get into it. So before the show, I ask everybody this, and if you're new to this show, here you go. But if you're not new, you already know. I ask everybody, what gaming console did you first really start out with? What really got you into gaming? Like everybody had that taste tester before they got the main encore or the main course or whatnot. So I asked him, yo, what's the first console you got? And he said Atari 2600 and or ColecoVision. And my mind kind of started glitching a little bit because I'm like, oh man, I don't even remember what the ColecoVision looks like. I haven't even thought of that console for I don't know how long. And and I got all these classic games and stuff like that. And I'm sitting there thinking, what the hell? I can't even remember. But brother, go on ahead and let me know what your life was like back then. What games were you playing? You already told me the consoles. Tell me the feeling and everything about them.
Oh man. So, I will say this. I grew up more fortunate than most, right? My father was in the pizza business and he did very well. So when it came to video games, there was nothing I didn't have. Anything I wanted, basically I got. So I was very fortunate. Um, so with the 2600 being very young, I spent a lot of time on that, like as a little kid. And I mean, my dad would go to Sears and buy games in bulk. Like he'd buy like 50 at a time. And it'd be some games you never even heard of or some weird stuff too. Like there would be those double-sided cartridges like the Chuck Norris and like some weird thing on the other side of it. I don't even know what they were, but we ended up with a couple of them.
That's
River Raid
badass.
probably. Yeah, there's some crazy
I didn't
stuff, man.
see. You just taught me something. I didn't know they had like swap like different side cartridges.
Yeah.
That's fucking pretty cool. Continue.
I don't even know if they were like because Atari allowed a lot of third parties just to make stuff that worked on Atari. They weren't picky like Nintendo was with the seal of quality. So I don't even know if that was like first party Atari stuff or if that was just like some indie developers and they were like, "Hey, let's just try this cool gimmick out and put, two games on one cartridge and see
Yeah,
what
it's like the old
happens."
gimmick where they had two games on both sides of the CD. Remember Jet Set Radio, Future, and what was the game? Sega GT 2000, I think it was.
I think so. Yeah, Jay's in the chat. He might remember. He's a Sega fan, so he might remember that for sure. But
Okay.
yeah, like it was just crazy times, man. And also I do want to tell you that just besides home consoles, because I know most people that's what they grew up with, home consoles, right? But before I was born, we had pinball tables in our basement as well.
Oh man,
And
y'all had it good. You wasn't lying when you said you was living the good life.
No,
You had it all,
we
man.
had like we had that also that oh man, what do you call it? I don't even know what the proper name is for it, but I had like a metal puck and I had these bowling pins that would come down, but it was like a shuffleboard kind of thing with the puck. I don't even know what they're called. We had one of those. We had a ping pong table, a foosball table, and we had Space Invaders on the porch. And I used to go to my dad's restaurant at 3 years old, and he put me on a chair and pop on Pac-Man and say, "Here you go," and just play while I work. So I would sit there all day with quarters on top. She'd just play until I fell off the chair and cried a little bit. But so to be honest with you, when you say what you grew up with, like from the age of 3, I had like Atari, ColecoVision, pinball, and Pac-Man at the pizza place. I was very fortunate for that.
Wow. Not many people can say that they had. I mean, nowadays, sure, people can say that, but not many people of previous generations that are like above the age of like 25 and up right now can say, man, I had a video game console and I could barely even walk. I could barely even really talk, and I already was gaming. That's wild.
Yeah.
That's what's up though. So getting into pinball, Pac-Man, ColecoVision, Atari, you already had, a really good appetizer going on. What felt like the first main course when you got to it? Like when it came to like consoles coming out and whatnot. What felt like the first thing that you're like, man, I'm gonna sick my teeth into this motherfucker right here?
I have to say, okay, so the the Atari had, their crash, right? And they were clearancing out Atari games like crazy. And I kind of got bored of Atari as I got older. Probably too much Atari. And my dad came home one day and he says, "Hey, a friend of mine works for a distribution company because he had a lot of friends that would drive trucks to Toys R Us and stuff back then. And we got the Nintendo Entertainment System probably about 2 months before national retail release. Um, I don't know how he got it, but we got it before national American release, and it came with Robbie the Robot and the Gyromite, I believe it was called Gyromite, and Duck Hunt, and it was the separate Duck Hunt cartridge, not tied to Super Mario Brothers. But he also happened to get Super Mario Brothers early as well, and I think that is what I was like, "Wow, this is the coolest thing I've ever played." I was playing Duck Hunt like till probably 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning some nights. I was just so fascinated that you could take this Nintendo Zapper and shoot at the screen, and it would be like almost realistic to the fact that you could hit the ducks and a dog would come up. That dog, I forget his name, but he would just come up, and I just feel so proud of myself if I didn't miss the ducks.
Yeah, I remember those days, man. The duck hunt with the like, you either had like the orange and gray one or the gray and white one or whatnot, and yeah, that joint was fantastic. As a matter of fact, I know I have one of those guns around here somewhere, but I don't even currently have my Nintendo or my Super Nintendo plugged in. I have like 15 other things going on over here, um, but yeah, man, that was great. The only reason I don't have my Nintendo hooked up, just to give you a reason why, is because, man, I'll never love it. Blowing into those cartridges, cleaning those cartridges, throwing in the game in 20 different times in this small little angles to make sure that I push it down properly and it turns on. Man, I
Mhm.
don't miss those days, bro. I don't miss those days at all. I like when I got this Nintendo, I was just like, I cannot wait to play it when I got home. I had, what was that game? Top Gun, as
Mhm.
well as,
Oh yeah.
Mario. I have Link and Zelda. I got the Zelda in the box. I still got the gold box of Zelda. And it took me 20 minutes just to get one of those motherfucking games to turn on. So then when I moved here, I was just like, dude, I'm not ready to hook that console up yet. I'm good. But yeah.
There's a trick to that, man.
Ooh,
I learned as
please.
I got older.
Tell me the
So
tricks.
a lot of times with the cartridges, the biggest problem is they would get dusty, right? And that's why the connectors didn't connect properly. So if you take a Q-tip and put a tiny drop of rubbing alcohol on it, and you swipe the cartridge ends, it'll work without a problem. And then if for some reason it's happened on multiple games that
It
your
is.
Nintendo's like blinking and stuff,
I
you
think it's the
might need
pin
to
reader.
replace you might need to replace a 72 pin reader. And last time I did that, they weren't too expensive.
Yeah, I
It's
think they're like
very
$20.
yeah, and Nintendo is one of the easiest ones to open up and put back together.
Yeah, there's only like 6 screws or something like that.
Yeah.
Because I opened it up and was like, dusted and cleaning it off and whatnot. And I put it back together. And yeah, I just came to the conclusion that the pin reader needs to be replaced. I was just like, whatever. Damn it.
Yep.
So yeah, but that console, I mean, when it worked when you were a kiddo, man, that game, that thing was absolutely fire. But nowadays, yeah, probably most of the pin readers out there need to be replaced. No lie.
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
that's way back in the 80s when that joint came out, right? But moving on, so the Nintendo was like the main love for quite some time for you, right?
Oh yeah. I
What
love my Nintendo, man.
what was probably the creme de la creme game for you on that console?
Wow. Man, that is such a tough question.
Sorry.
And the reason why I'm gonna tell you it's a very hard question is because I never missed a Nintendo game. I had everything. But literally, we would have stacks and stacks of shelves of Nintendo games, and it got so bad that my mom had to throw away the boxes because the boxes would take up more than half the entertainment center. Because every
Mhm.
time a new game came out, my dad was at Toys R Us or Kitty City or wherever it was that he was finding. I don't even Kitty City. I don't think was around. So it was Toys R Us and KB Toy Store. I think it was KB Toy Store, but we had
KB Toys
everything.
is
So
dope.
yeah, so out of everything though, one of the most memorable for me is Mega Man 5. And I
Mm.
say that because when you beat the game, the end screens, like the pixel art is just beautiful. Like it's mind-blowing. Like I beat the game more than once just so I could see that pixel art again. It was just so colorful. And the music with it was like, "Yes, I did it." Now, granted, the first time I beat it fair and square, every other time was with Game Genie, but still, I had to get there.
Game Genie. You pulled it out, bro. But let me shout out a couple people in the chat that I see that's pulled up. So Spooky the breathtaking gamer. Good brother in the chat. Thank you so much for showing up. I'm not sure if I mentioned already, but Sir X, man, really good to see you here. Appreciate you for showing up, brother. And then obviously the man that helped connect me to you to get a better impression is 108 Dragons TV Lemon. What is cracking? I see you up in the chat. Thank you so much for showing up. I appreciate you for supporting. We are gonna keep moving on. So I always kind of poke a little bit at each guest, especially when they tell me that they were really enjoying their Nintendo at some point. I'm just like, wait a second, because I grew up a Sega kid. So I always gotta know, was you messing with Sega back in the day, bro?
Yeah, yeah, of course I had that. The only
Ooh,
Sega
okay, let's
system
go.
that I missed was Sega Master System,
Oh,
right?
okay. Yep. Okay.
But
Fair
but
enough.
my best friend at the time had that, and I used to play Alex Kidd all the time at his house. But this when the Sega Genesis came out, right? I was so excited for it because I really wanted to play Altered Beast. You remember those commercials and it launched with Altered Beast, man? And I just loved it. And I had the first edition of the Sega Genesis.
Okay.
And I gotta say, Kid
The one with the
Chameleon.
volume knob you're talking about, right?
Yep, yep. Kid
Okay.
Chameleon was another of my favorites on that. Tasmanian Devil was one of my favorites on that. I mean,
Taz was dope.
yeah.
Which one? Which Taz are you talking about though? Because there's a couple ones on there. Are you talking about the one with Marvin the Martian?
I don't remember if it was the first one that came out.
Okay, Marvin the Martian was the second one.
Okay, yeah. So it was the first one.
Okay, okay. Because I think the second one was like Taz in space or something
Yeah,
like that.
I don't think I had that one.
Yeah, that joint was dope. But yeah. The Taz games were fire. You ain't lying.
Yeah. I mean, it was just a perfect platform all around. And come on, Kid Chameleon too. You could just
Mhm.
like, oh, dude, that would the mechanics in that game were so genius for its time.
I mean, a lot of that stuff was genius. I mean, Mortal Kombat during that period of
Yeah,
time, the cheat
Sega had the
codes that
better
you could start,
version.
the cheat codes that you could start putting into games and stuff on that D pad and three buttons and a start in the start button. I mean, I mean, the Sega Genesis had it going on. It gave you that mature feeling, that feeling of it going a little further than, Nintendo don't, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. Nintendo does what Sega don't, right, Jay? No, but you're right. Sega really did push for a more mature kind of aspect, and I think that was kind of like a selling point, right? Because if you had Super Nintendo during the Genesis days, you didn't get the Mortal Kombat with the blood version. It was that fake looking whatever it was. Forget what they call it, but it was not the real deal.
Graphics God had to say the code for the original Mortal Kombat in the chat. I see that, and I'll never forget that. ABACABB. Oh wait. I don't know, but I don't know. I know that was the. Yep. See, I knew it. I knew it. That's exactly what he was talking about. Is that because it turned the blood on the screen on Mortal Kombat, and then you could start uppercutting people into the spikes, and blood got turned onto the game. It was so good. It was so good. Road Rash was probably my favorite game though on the Sega. I had a whole
That
pin pad
that
of codes to get back into my game.
that was a really good one, yeah, Road Rash. I'd play that for hours with my cousin.
Absolutely. What was probably one of the most obscure games that you played on the Genesis? Because it had a ton of them.
I gotta think about this one.
While you're thinking, I'm gonna go on ahead and throw out the one that I find obscure. At least, I mean, a lot of people played it back then, I think, but not a lot of people played it compared to like Madden or like the Bill Walsh footballs and stuff like that. Do you remember that Deion Sanders football game with him on the cover? He had his bandana on. It was like back when he went from, I want to say it was either San Francisco or Atlanta Falcons, and then he went to the Dallas Cowboys. But man, that football game was something. A lot of football games back then were pretty terrible. Actually, I was like on stream. I was playing. Was it Joe Montana football for the Sega
Yeah,
CD?
yeah, I
And that
remember
game was
that.
rough.
I'm trying to find these because I know I had some, right? But I just my mind is drawing a blank, so I'm just seeing if there's any that ring a bell here.
Okay.
I did have Returnal Champions. I don't know if that was obscure, but I had that. Um What was it? Man, I did have one, but I just can't remember it, man. It's blowing my mind here.
I mean, that happens when you're thinking about old school shit. It's usually always on the tip, but you can't even you can't think of it quite easily to just tell somebody just right away. But anyways, screw it. Let's go on ahead and just go with Returnal Champions or Eternal Champions.
Okay.
Let's just roll with
I
that.
also had Michael Jackson's Moonwalker.
Bruh, that game ain't obscure.
I had that. I don't know if it's obscure. I had
Everybody loved that joint. You throwing the hat, kicking the leg, and there's like a little dust that comes out.
Mutant League Hockey. I had that.
Okay, that's getting there.
Yeah, I think that may be one of the rarest ones that had Mutant League Hockey, because I love Mutant League Football. Right, that was a great game.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. All right, so Genesis was fire. You said you messed around with. I was hoping you weren't just a Nintendo kid only, because you already announced that you play primarily on Xbox now, but you mess with any of the games. I was hoping that you were not different when you were a kid, but I see the things have stayed the same for the most part for you. You've been bouncing around from console to console to console, it seems like your whole life now. So moving forward, Sega Genesis was fire. Did you end up getting any of the attachments for it? As I was just talking about Sega CD, did you have like the 32X that went on top of it? Did you have any of this add-on stuff that came with the Genesis? And please explain your time playing it.
All right, so 32X, I did have that. I got that, I think, to play the Spider-Man game at the time, because I had a 32X version, if I remember correctly. But I didn't really play a lot of 32X games. I think that, and man, was it Virtua Racer? Was that one of them? Can't remember. But I only had like one or two 32X games.
I mean, they only had like 30 or 50 of them. There wasn't very many.
Yeah. So, I mean, the Sega CD, though, I did have that, and I loved it. My favorite game on Sega CD was Willy Beamish. I was terrible at it, but I love Willy Beamish.
What was that one about? Because I've never played that one.
You were like a kid, and it started out with like you going to school, and it was kind of like a cartoony adventure, hitting the stuff at the right time, kind of stuff. I don't know if I can describe it better than that.
Fair enough.
But memory fades over time. But I just remember I would spend hours playing it. That was the one game that I just loved so much on the Sega CD. And the other thing too, if you remember the NXS music CD that came with it, I would play that a lot too. Like I didn't even like NXS at the time until I played that CD, and I was like, oh, never heard these guys, but this is a good song.
Yeah.
So I used to play. I was like, oh, this is so cool. You can watch the video. Oh, and Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, Sherlock Holmes. You like that point and click.
Yeah, that was a good one.
See, this Sega CD had a ton of point and click games, especially with their FMV games. A lot of them were just like point and click, and or like hit A to like send the assault or something like that. It was very simple games, and the movie scene on the games were pretty dope, actually, if you consider the time, But like, it was seriously pretty cool. Sewer Shark was an interesting one as well. Prize Fighter was probably the worst game that I've ever played on the Sega CD, just because of dodging and everything. It was just a really bad boxing game, in my opinion. But anyways, yeah. Yeah, that was on the Sega CD. That one was. But as for a 32X, I've only played a couple games on it. I have one. I've played. I want to say it was like Supermoto or something like that, or one of the motorcycle games, and then also Doom. I played some Doom on it a little bit, but I don't really have that many 32X games. It was easier for me to find the 32X than it is for me to find the games for it. So that's a thing. And also with that Sega CD, I have like 10 or 15 different Sega CD games, but those are also hard to come by. The coolest one I probably, oh wait, that's for my Saturn. I was gonna say Street Fighter, the movie edition. I have that one, which is pretty cool. But that's
nice.
on my Sega Saturn. But anyway, so moving on. Now getting into the newer stuff. So now we're gonna hop into the generation of the Dreamcast, PS2, original Xbox, GameCube. I understand we might be skipping a generation or whatnot, but I want to hop into this one specifically because it's one of the most legendary generations, in my opinion, if not just a cold hard fact. Because I mean, the PlayStation 2, nobody can deny its dominance during that time. The GameCube, a lot of people will say, you know, maybe it was a little too family friendly, but it had some crazy games on it, and it definitely had some types of games that you'll want to stick to and beat. Absolutely. Eternal Darkness is one of my favorites that were on there. The Mario games, Super Smash Brothers. I mean, so many great IPs on that console. And then on top of that, like I said, Xbox was there. And then the unfortunate event of the Dreamcast was there as well. I want you to tell me first and foremost, did you have a Dreamcast? And what about it did you love? And what about it did you not love so much?
Dreamcast. So the Dreamcast, I did go out and I pre-ordered that at Toys R Us. Got one for me and my sister at the time. The Dreamcast, I thought was a fantastic system, to be honest with you. I didn't have a lot of games off the start. Marvel vs. Capcom was probably my favorite on the Dreamcast.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then after that, I kind of liked the homebrew scene for the Dreamcast. Like a big fan of the homebrew scene. So, I played many different things on there that it wasn't necessarily meant for, but I enjoyed that aspect of the Dreamcast. Like I enjoyed that community.
Did you ever take it and go online with that console? Because that was one of the first ones that could do it, yeah. So, I mean, there was ways to access online with older consoles, but it seemed like the Dreamcast made it fairly easier. In fact, it even came
Yeah,
with a web browser disk.
Dreamcast, I never took that online. I took the Super Nintendo online,
Oh
and that was
Lord.
the worst experience I've ever had with the add-on thing and took that thing back to
Yeah, Sega, the
Electronics
Genesis had that
Boutique.
too.
Oh, so bad. Yeah. But Dreamcast, no, never went online.
Okay, fair enough. How do you think it compared? Like, if you were to rate the launch of the Dreamcast, how do you think it compared versus the other consoles that were in that same generation?
I think the Dreamcast was a bit underwhelming at launch. Like, at least in my area, I didn't see a lot of marketing for the Dreamcast, right? Um, my only reason for wanting was just because Marvel vs. Capcom. That was it. I mean, that was it for me, man. I didn't see commercials for it where I lived in my market. I didn't see in-store displays. Everybody else was talking about at the time. What was it? Nintendo 64 had a big marketing thing in my area. That was huge, but Dreamcast, no, little to nothing.
Yeah, PlayStation was really dominant too during that time coming up and whatnot. Having that, showing of, what they wanted to do in gaming is essentially turn your living room TV into your, desktop computer pretty much. You had your DVD player in it, you had, the games. The only thing that made it unlike a home computer is that damn memory card. That was the only thing that kind of took away the whole computer feeling experience from your television. And then, you know, soon after, Xbox came out and kind of took the helm of that a little bit, but it definitely did not stop the sales of the PlayStation 2 whatsoever. So that's what I want to get into next is the PlayStation 2. What was that like for you? How was your experience? What was some of the big games on it? Go on ahead.
All right, so this is where a lot of people might be disappointed with me.
Oh,
I
Lord,
got
what's happening?
I got a PlayStation 2 for one reason and one reason only. I wanted to mod it.
What's wrong with you?
So I got the PlayStation 2 because at the time I was learning to solder stuff and I did very well with the PlayStation 1s. So PlayStation 2, I was like, oh yeah, I'll conquer this beast, no problem. And I remember the first time I went to mess with that motherboard, there was multiple wires for that chip, and I ruined it. I just flat out destroyed it.
Oh my
And
God. What's happening
so
right now?
once it was destroyed, it just got put in the closet. But it doesn't take away from the fact that it was a memorable system and it really did a lot for gaming. And it really brought a lot of cherished memories to a lot of people except for me, except for that damn motherboard.
So your memories with the PlayStation 2 isn't even gaming on it. It's fucking it
No.
up.
Yes. And I was so mad I
That's
did
a
that too
first
because
on my podcast. I've never had anybody that had their memory of PlayStation 2, what most people, or not, maybe not most people, but what a lot of people will call the greatest gaming console of all time. Not in my opinion, but in many's opinion. And your experience with it is busting the motherfucker, not even playing it.
yeah, but the poor console. I think it's shoved in the garage somewhere apart. I think I still have the case. The motherboard, I don't know. That probably got wet and it's probably on its last legs, not even together in one piece somewhere.
Fuck clowns. God damn it. I don't even know what. I don't even know how to proceed after that one. What the hell? I did not expect that short and disrespectful of an answer.
Hey, it's the truth, right? I come here to give the truth and I speak the truth.
Well, the truth hurts this time, bud.
But my cousin did have a PlayStation 2 and I did play SOCOM for a little bit. I think that was the first time that I got really introduced to people talking online,
Oh, yeah.
on the PlayStation Network. And I don't remember the conversations being very well. It was more like listening to CB trucker radio, and my experiences with my cousin. So, it's that was it. Ham, the closet, and SOCOM. That was it.
Oh my God, that's messed up. And graphics guy saying in the chat, tying up them phone lines for the PlayStation Online. Yes, I was one of those people doing that. PlayStation Online for me back then was ass. I don't know how anybody else's experience was. I had Roadrunner, so I had decent internet. If you remember Time Warner back in the day, they went with Roadrunner as their whole gimmick. With the internet and whatnot, and it was like the fastest internet that you get at that time. And I used to always try to play Madden on my PS2, and you had to like screw in the network adapter onto the back of the PlayStation 2 just to be able to have a network connection in it, because it was not like the Xbox where it just came with it. Oh, Phantasy Star Online. he said Phantasy Star Online. So he's probably, I'm guessing he's probably thinking of the Dreamcast, because Dreamcast had Phantasy Star Online. I know that for sure. But yeah, for that PlayStation 2, you had to get that adapter for it. And yeah, it was a pain in the butt. It was definitely a pain in the butt. But anyways, moving forward, Xbox. We know that you are big into that. So we'll go into that last. I want to know, did you have any experience playing Dreamcast? Did you also open that console up and solder it to death and shove it to the side?
That one you did not need to. You could just, there are other ways to do it. And, It was handled without hurting the precious piece of hardware that it was. I could never imagine myself taking the Dreamcast apart because I love that console to death.
Uh-oh.
Saying, I didn't even turn on the
You
PS2
throwing shade right
to
now.
love it, I just, I really want to learn how to mod those things. That was it.
As soon as you couldn't mod it, you just threw it in the trash, essentially, pretty much. The trash being the back of the garage just somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, some say it
Disrespect.
could be user error. I think it was motherboard error. I think it just required too many wires. And it just didn't power on.
We're supposed to be talking about we still supposed to be talking about the GameCube right now, and you over here disrespecting the PlayStation still? What's happening?
Yeah, GameCube. GameCube. That I love my GameCube.
All right. What about it though? Like what games were on it that were absolutely killing it for you back in the day? Was it Luigi's Mansion? Was it Mario was it Sunshine for that time?
No,
Eternal Darkness,
surprisingly,
Beautiful Joe.
no. Surprisingly, I didn't play Mario Sunshine on that. But I did love two games on that.
Okay.
Simpsons Hit and Run.
Okay.
Played that a lot. And I think it was Madden 06. I had Donovan McNabb on the cover.
Yeah, because 07
And
was Michael Vick.
yeah, and as a huge Eagles fan, I was like, yeah, this is great.
Oh my God.
That was it. I played those two religiously almost like every day. Split my time between the two.
I tell you what, bruh, I would have never thought that you would say that I loved my Nintendo GameCube and then pull out multiplats. Who would have thought?
Yeah. Yeah.
Who would have thought that you would say an EA game, Madden, and then Hit and Run? Wow. Simpsons. What?
Yeah.
Were there any, or better yet, let me ask you this question. What's up, NLG? I see you. He says, hey, everyone, brother Clowns, brother Ham, good to see you in here. Absolutely great to see him in here. Can't wait to talk to you here in the near future, brother. But yeah, I gotta ask you, so like, is there any first party games, or better yet, did you even care about first party at all during this time period? Like I can tell you first and foremost, not a thought in my mind went to whether a game was first party or not back then. I mean, now it's the craze, right?
Yeah.
But back then, no.
I never, to be honest with you, I never cared about first party stuff.
To this day?
To this day, yeah.
Oh, wow. Continue.
Yeah, so I mean, after GameCube, let's say, I got into my Xbox phase. I remember wanting that when it first came out, and I didn't get it right away. And I had a friend call me up, and he's like, "Oh yeah, we're playing Black Arrow on this. You should get on it. We should all hang out. It's a lot of fun." So I got it to play Black Arrow, and then next thing I know, I'm sucked into Xbox because it had the greatest online service for a console, and it was I felt more at home being on the Xbox Live service instead of PC. I just had so much fun with that, man. And as far as Xbox games go, it was pretty much the Black Arrow, Rainbow Six. I did play Halo 2 for a little bit, but not because I really liked it that much. I played it because there was a Australian girl that I played with all the time. So that was one reason why I played Halo 2. Wow, what else did I play on that? San Andreas. I played that a lot.
Oh, yes. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean that was beautiful. I have the one that they recalled still. I still have that in the garage.
But
Yeah.
before they had to switch up some things because of how explicit certain
certain
parts of
things
it
in the
was.
card were. Yeah, I still have it. Yeah, GameStop called me and they're like, "Hey,
Little bump
you
and
have
grind
the
going down.
yeah, yeah." So I kept it. But I want to say that Black Arrow probably took up a lot of my time on there because we were on Team Compete. We were the number one team for like 2 years, Abandon All Hope. We were number one on Team Battles, and that was long before MLG bought Team Battles. So we were on there. We were like number one for 1 year, and then we were also number one on the leaderboards. And I had a lot of some people might say clowns. Why? But I'll just talk about why I like Black Arrow so much on there. Is that Team Battles? We became such a well-known team on Team Battles, Abandon All Hope, aka AH, that we grew and we had um, three different branches of our team. And the way we ran our teams was like it's kind of funny. Was kind of like a organized crime family, right? We had the
Oh
guy that
my
was the
goodness.
we had the guy that was the boss, right? And I was like the guy under him. And then we had like a consigliere guy, but and then we had captains that ran like their little squads. And then like every week we would kind of like figure out who had the best stats and we'd put those captains in charge and put their squads in the game. And I made a lot of friends at team battles. Um, that we even had refs at team battles. So anytime there was a dispute or something, our videos would get looked at a lot more with clarity. I mean, I'll say this, they were still honest, okay? They weren't, it wasn't like you slip a little, get a little. It wasn't like the good old handshake or nothing. But
Had your own little
um,
MLG shit going on. That's wild.
yeah, but we would have the refs in the room sometimes. We'd be like, hey, listen, we think so and so cheated. We got it on because at the time I had the Walmart version iLoad DVD recorder. I would record the matches with that, right? And it was so weird because there was a little bit of lag, a little bit of difficult time. But yeah, get the DVD recorded, get the videos uploaded on the PC, and yeah, we had a squad of refs, man, that made sure that nobody cheated us.
Wow. I mean, that's digging deep right there. Recording the DVDs. I mean, the work that you had to go through
Hmm.
during that time period and the equipment that you must have had during that time period is just that's next level right there, right? Next level gaming, I'd say.
Nice. Yeah, I like that.
So I mean that's really cool, man. Absolutely dope. You have a very interesting history with that. But continuing to move forward because I have a lot of other questions to ask you and I want to get going from this subject, but I still got a few other questions I need answered. Is so PS3, Xbox 360, Nintendo Wii. Go.
Okay, so the Xbox 360, I had gotten myself. I didn't want to get the 360 initially because I had like three original Xboxes, and I was like, okay, I might be done with gaming now. I'm going to work, living the life now. I don't know if I have time to game anymore. So one of my old friends from the Rainbow Six Black Arrow clan that I was in,
Mhm.
I'll never forget. He's a good dude. Todd, he's no longer here, but he he was like, "Oh, you gotta play the 360." I was like, "No, man. Like, there's no way." He's like, "Dude, we're on Modern Warfare now. You gotta get the 360." I was like, "No, man. I just don't have time for it." Next day, I go outside my door. There's a 360 sitting outside
Oh Lord,
with
he
the
done got it for you.
Madagascar. Yeah, he got it for me with the Madagascar thing. And I remember I was like, okay, this is not so bad. I like this achievement thing. This is kind of cool. And I got hooked on achievements from there. So I enjoyed the 360, got into the Modern Warfare community. Modern Warfare 3 was, my favorite one. I had a great squad in 3. PS3, again, I waited to get
Did
that
you
one.
mod it? Were you waiting to mod it again? Is this another one of those situations that you were getting ready to disrespect the PS3? You didn't want it to actually play games?
So the PS3, I had a lot of friends that were developers and underground developers, still to this day.
Okay.
And I followed the Chaos Computer Club, and I followed GeoHot, George Holtz. And I remember when he took their stuff and he made it so easy to mod the PS3. So I was like, okay, I'll get the PS3. And I modded it. And I did such a good job. And thanks to all my friends in the underground community, I was able to mod it for homebrew, still go online with it, and I wasn't getting banned at all because I knew exactly what I was doing, but I wasn't cheating online or anything like that, right? I wasn't cheating. I wasn't playing backups online. Like, I did it strictly for homebrew. Okay. So here comes my daughter, very young. She's like, "Oh, I love PS3. I want to play the PS3, Dad." I was like, "Okay, what harm can she do on PS3? What harm can she do?" So she plays the PS3. Within one day, she's like, "Daddy," I'm like, "Yeah, it's banned." I'm like, "What do you mean it's banned?" "Daddy, it's banned."
They
I said, "What did you?"
gotcha.
I was like, "What did you do to get it banned?" I had everything set up. She was going in Call of Duty in hardcore and just killing all her teammates and stealing their care packages. And I was like, because the way she explained to me, she says, "Yeah, I would get angry messages, Dad, because I would just kill everybody and take these packages that were mine." I said, "What do you mean yours?" And she's like, "Yeah, they dropped in where I spawn with the other guys." I said, "That's probably your teammates. You probably killed so many of them. You got reported." So she was not only she not only got banned from PlayStation, but she got banned from the Call of Duty servers as well.
Oh
Um,
Lord.
I did some things, got it fixed. She does it again.
Okay,
By
so
the
this is
third,
now on purpose.
yes, by the third time, I had given up trying to fix it. I'm just like, here, do whatever you want with it. Just you're playing offline from now on, you know. So that was my PS3. And the Wii, I really love the Wii. I think the Wii was something really cool. And what was really cool about the Wii is the fact that it was such an easy device to homebrew to play a lot of great stuff on that. There was a lot of great things you could do with the Wii that it opened up more potential than some of the other things that were going on at the time. And the community behind the Wii was so strong for a long time, and I enjoyed it, man. Like, I enjoyed the retro stuff on the Wii. I enjoyed running servers on the Wii. Like, I'd use that as a file server sometimes. Like, it was so cool. Not because it was the greatest file server in the world, because the memory, it didn't really have a lot of power, but it was just cool to do it.
Wow. So, but the one thing that you have, so I got to know which one really changed gaming for you of the three, because I mean, I feel like PlayStation was really stepping up in the power zone, even though, the whole cell processor thing kind of backfired on them, right? But they still had the whole power narrative at that point. They had, Linux that could, run on their console and whatnot. It was strong. It had, HDMI that it came out with, Blu-ray player that it came out with, cheapest Blu-ray player that you can purchase, just like its predecessor with the DVD player being like the cheapest that you can purchase at the time. And then, Xbox, phenomenal game, phenomenal chat system. Xbox Live was great. Had some fantastic weird games that came out for it. It was definitely like a variety system of just like whatever type of game that you want to play, you can find it here. And then the Wii kind of making you stand up and work for your games and whatnot. Which one was more powerful for you in the direction that it was taking gaming?
I loved the Xbox, man.
I knew it. Because all you were
I
trying to
loved
do
the
is break the PlayStation.
Yeah, just seeing how much they would take, I think to this day, Clowns is still banned on PlayStation. Um, but yeah, I mean, the Xbox, I made so many friends in the Xbox
That's a
community
fact.
on the OG Xbox, on the Xbox 360. It was just, and the Xbox Live service, I mean, I know today there's issues with all online services, but for the most part, Xbox Live has been a more secure experience. It's been a more solid experience and a lot less downtime.
I love how you slipped in the secure part because we know about past. But anyways, moving forward. So now the last one, the last generation that we need to hit before we finally get to the current day stuff is that PS4, Switch, and the Xbox One. Switch came a little bit later, a few years after the launch of the One and the PS4. But was there anything that kind of took you off of the bandwagon from Xbox during the Xbox One time? Did you find yourself getting more into PlayStation, or were you all in no matter what with Xbox? Because that's what I was. I was all in for Xbox, did not care about PlayStation. In fact, I mean, PlayStation really, I mean, if I'm being honest, PlayStation wasn't that interesting to me until towards the end of the generation. So when it came out with like Spider-Man, God of War 2018, and some of that stuff, I didn't care about the PS4 until the end of the generation. Then I was like, all right, I'm starting to get a little jealous now. But at the beginning of it, like I had Rise, Son of Rome, I had Titanfall. I mean, I had my Call of Duty games. I had my third party, banging. I mean, it wasn't very much first party stuff banging out, but the third parties were punching at the beginning of the fight for Xbox One for me. And I loved, and I mean, I know this is a hot take for some, but I really liked my Kinect. And not so much for the Kinect games, but for being able to talk to it, turn on my Xbox, snap the Xbox, be able to have YouTube running on the side or, watching TV on the side while I'm playing a video game. I loved watching football while playing football at the same time. I thought it was super cool. But going ahead and let me know what your experience was like in the beginning of this generation, and then also give me kind of the way you felt towards the end.
Okay, so I remember I was so excited for the Xbox One. And keep in mind, when the Xbox One was coming out, I didn't even watch like E3 or any of the game shows or any of the game news. I just liked Xbox, so I wanted an Xbox One. So I went out and I got my Xbox One. I still had the Target reservation card somewhere. Took pictures of it, put it on Facebook because I was so proud of it. But like you said, Rise, Son of Rome, Dead Rising 3, I loved that game on launch. I don't, I understand that it had some bugs here and there, but I think it was one of the best releases for Dead Rising. Like I was just so into it on this new generation system at the time. I was like, man, this is really cool what they're pushing the limits with. I just loved it, man. And then from there, as Plants vs Zombies, and I'd say, Xbox One is still my favorite out of them. PS4, I got that just to play Spider-Man.
So that
And
was
I
a
got
later generation get for you then as well.
Yeah, it was that and Ratchet and Clank that I got it for.
Mm.
I didn't even care about the God of War, to be honest with you. I know a lot of people love God of War, and it's nothing to diss that game, but I never liked God of War. It was never interested in me. It just always felt like one of those games that's too linear and it's one and done. And I don't like that linear kind of stuff. It's not for me. Last of Us, I did kind of like that because it had the zombie kind of like apocalypse feeling. But if it didn't have zombies and an end of the world feeling, it'd just be another linear game to me.
Okay.
And as for Switch, once again, I waited. until until I found out some details about the Switch. Did did some things to my Switch,
Oh
and
my God. Here we go again.
I play homebrew on it, man. I love the homebrew on the Switch. I love the homebrew on the Switch.
Yeah, I mean, I'm scared to see you get another console that doesn't have an X on it, because you might open it up, you might see what's cracking on the inside. What can I solder?
I mean, hey, I got Sea of Thieves to play on my Vita, you know? So,
Wow, that's
yeah,
impressive.
I do a lot of crazy stuff, man. And my Vita to this day has not been banned, but I just don't go online with it because it's not worth getting my account banned again on PlayStation Network. But I used Moonlight on the Vita to play Sea of Thieves off the PC at the time. It would play the GeForce Now recognized titles, and it was just a great thing. So, I
That's
mean,
really
all my
cool.
s- the only ones I don't mod is my Xbox because I care about my Xbox accounts more than anything.
Well, and see the Xbox, I mean, it'll let you go into developer mode anyways and do whatever you want to it. So I mean, the choice is yours kind of with the Xbox. The one thing that's really been cool about Xbox throughout the times, even though, modding for like 360s and the original Xbox Ones was obviously not something that was loved. But as the generations went on with Xbox, they've really been good about giving options to different things that you could do with said console, whether it was software or hardware things. It's pretty wild some of the different things that you can connect to it. This is going all the way back to the original Xbox. It's just wild some of the stuff that you could really do to that system to expand its limits and whatnot. It's
Yeah.
crazy. Really crazy stuff. Gogo Pole, good to see you. The Rockin' Warrior Gamecast. Good to see you up in here with Spokey. I see you. I see you, girl. What's cracking? But anyways, so I gotta ask now about current generation things. Oh wait, we haven't finished the last thing. So from that last subject actually. So I want to go back up and tie that up real quick. What was the parts that you really disliked about each of those consoles during the one PS4 and Switch? Because we got the goods.
So the PS4, I'm not a big fan of the PlayStation Online services in general. I'm not like trophies. I'm not super excited about. So when it comes to online service and trophies, I'm like, I mean, it's not terrible, but it's not gonna get me on that system to want to play it. That's the problem, right?
Yeah, it's just not for
Um,
you.
yeah, the Switch, I got annoyed with because there was really no online achievements. There was like stamp cards per game, but where could you see all your friends' stamp cards? It was kind of worthless, you know. The Xbox One, the only thing that I had drawbacks on that, and I'm gonna be quite honest with you, is that sometimes mine would crash.
Like completely shut off. Is that what you're talking about?
Like it would go and then crash.
I had mine just like it just would cut off in the middle of a game, especially on Borderlands. Borderlands and Red Dead just cut off.
Ooh,
It
yeah, not
terrified
good.
me multiple times. And it even happened on my 1X too. So I was just like, man, it doesn't matter. This game is pushing it to the limits. Like I mean, when it first happened, I was excited. I was like, this is getting pushed to the limits. And then after about the fifth or sixth time, I was just like, this shit's about to die.
You're like, I better be careful with this.
Right. Absolutely. Especially in Borderlands, because you can get like modded guns and that and stuff like that. And like depending on who modded it and how much BS that they put into the gun, it could just crush your console. It was
Yeah,
insane.
because all the guns would drop and overload the screen. And I couldn't handle it. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually on Borderlands 3, I have a couple modded guns with one of my characters on that, and I could have somebody like you remember back when the Series X first came out. A lot of people would be playing with friends on Xbox One and stuff like that. My load times would be fast; theirs would be hella slow. I could get into the game really quick, and if I hurry up and start shooting one of the guns that I had, that would overload the scene. My Xbox would be fine, but his Xbox would just cut off. I could turn off other people's Xboxes by overloading their shit.
Oh
And
wow.
it was insane. Oh, my friends were getting pissed because I'd cut their fucking console off, and they're like, "If this motherfucker breaks, you're buying me a brand."
Yeah, I could see that. Oh man,
So yeah, that was some.
man. I wish I would have known that. Jay, you still got your 1X? I'll do that to you, buddy. Yeah.
Yeah, man. But moving forward, so now I want to get into the current generation, and I got a few different questions to ask you about this because we're finally moving on pretty much from to the next topics and whatnot. But so current generation, I need a rating, 1 to 5 rating. I'm gonna make this tighter than 1 to 10. 1 to 5 rating on each. I'm gonna bring the Switch to this generation as well.
Oh man.
PS5, Series X and S, and the Switch. 1 to 5 rating, each one of them. Go.
Series X 5.
Oh my god.
Series S 4. PS5 I put out a 4. The Switch I put out a 2.
You put the PS5 right next to the S. That's something. That's something now. Now, please describe why does the PS4 butt up next to the Series S?
I think it's just because in this aspect ratio, right? I'm not talking about power or anything. I'm talking about preference. And I
Okay.
talk to my friends every day on Series X. So that's actually no PC nowadays with the PC app. But yeah, but other than that, I think the PS5 is a strong console. Yeah, I think they did a good job with it, but PlayStation sold too many as scalpers. Sorry,
Mm.
PlayStation. I had to throw that out there.
Oh my god. So, do you currently own a PS5?
I do, yeah. Yep.
Have you touched it with a soldering gun?
No, I have not, and I will not attempt the PS5. Actually, the to be honest with you, and just strictly honest because it's public knowledge, but there's a WebKit exploit on the PS5 that can get you root access, and they claim that all firmwares are vulnerable. They're just slowly moving up to the current firmware. So if that happens, I don't know. Uh, will I do it to mine? Probably not, because I do enjoy going online with the PS5. I got to get all my trophies first in Ratchet and Clank and stuff before I mess with it. But
So you're saying there's a chance?
there could be a chance when I take that bad boy offline. You know,
Take it offline and disrespect it a little bit. All right. So, do you have a Series S?
I do not, but I do want to get one. If I had the Series S, I would probably keep that offline, not put my account on it, use it in developer mode and play retro stuff on it, and just solely make it for retro.
That's actually a really dope idea. I actually recently got a Series S. Shout out to Target. They had a awesome deal going on where you can get it for $250 with a $50 Target gift card. So pretty much
That was
$200.
hell of a deal, man.
Amazing deal. I was out shopping for my daughter for her birthday on Black Friday and picked myself up a Series S. I mean, it happens. And the cool thing was I was like, I got a gift card now that I can just use to get her a present. I got her a few presents that totaled a little bit more than the card was worth. But it was nice to pretty much feel like I just got a console for $200. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Really nuts. Controller and everything. It's wild. Even did a little unboxing in it on this channel. But anyways, moving forward, so we talked about the PlayStation. We talked about the Series S. We've already kind of talked about the Switch from last topic. So you don't need to give the whole whys on that. But now I need to hear why on the Series X and why that's a 5 over the PS5 that you gave a 4.
Well, I mean, I just think I do like trophies better, right? Or not trophies. Wow.
Snap.
Oh, cut that for the record.
Snap.
No,
this is live, son. I can't cut shit.
Yeah, I know. I do like achievements better than trophies, right? So I think that kind of weighed into that factor. And I think it's really hard to say why I would give it a 5 or 4 versus the Series X of 5. I think it has to be my preference, man. Because honestly, these two consoles are so close to each other, in what they both can do. It's not even like a significant difference where you'd be like, oh, I have to have a PS5 because of this, or I have to have a Series X because of this. Because let's be honest, I mean, a lot of us play multiplats on these consoles. A lot of us are playing Fortnite and Call of Duty on these consoles, right? A lot of us are not.
You're gonna make me do it. You're gonna make me do it. All right, I gotta put on my Xbox cap right now. I'm a going complete Xbot right now with it. I'll give you some reasons that the Xbox is better than the PS5, in my opinion. And one, right off the top, backwards compatibility. Mm-hmm. I can throw in an original Xbox game, and as long as they are good with the licensing on it, I can play it. Max Payne. Got it. Let's go. So, and then number 2, developer mode on it. Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Number 3, I can use older controllers on the console. So if I want to use my Xbox One controller, I can do that. I can bring the controllers from the last generation into the new. So that kind of goes with backwards compatibility, I guess. Number 5, the party chat. Come on. Just the software alone for the party chat system to me is miles better. There's only really 2 things that I can really stand up and give PlayStation a round of applause on. One of them is screen sharing. The screen share feature is dope. Being able to see exactly where somebody is in their game, watching them play while you're playing your own game, pretty dope. And then also the capture settings in the PS5 are miles better than the capture feature in the Xbox. Xbox, I just don't get it. Why is it 720p for 3 minutes, 1080p for 1 minute, 30 seconds or 45 seconds for 4K or something like that, and you have to have it pre-selected to even get it. That's the only thing that just drives me insane, because you hit that record button for the PlayStation and it asks you, yo, do you want the last 30 seconds or do you want the last fucking hour? And it's all in the same resolution. So that's the only thing that just kind of drives me nuts about that. But I have so much more reasons why the Xbox is just better, in my opinion. I mean, just look at the 2 consoles. One looks like a fucking router, and one looks like looks like what it's supposed to look like, in my opinion. so I mean, now I'm taking my Xbox cap off, and we're gonna continue the show. All right, cool. So yeah that's where I kind of stand on the whole thing.
See, I agree with you in the backwards compatibility, right? Like, that's 100% a great thing for Xbox and a good talking point. But, I didn't necessarily say all that because I do have that PlayStation Premium Plus whatever crap, and you can play like PS3 games on it, right?
So no, we're not going there. That's not backwards compatibility.
It's not true backwards compatibility, no.
No, that's like no. No, we're not.
Devil's advocate because
We're
otherwise
not
some people
comparing.
might be
We're
like,
not comparing streaming to.
I gotta be devil's advocate here because somebody out there is gonna be like, it's just pro Xbox. So I just
it is
give
pro
them
Xbox. Sorry.
Yeah, just
But
give
it's
them that
facts.
little benefit of the doubt.
It is pro Xbox. It just is what it is.
They just have to pay for it for an emulation version.
I mean, what? We're at a time where PlayStation should be like in my opinion, it makes me super infuriated that they have that they're on their 5th edition of a console and somehow they don't have backwards compatibility. The first 3 consoles,
Last of Us like 4 times.
Excuse me, not the first 3, but the 2 consoles after the 1 could play PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 games, and then the PS3, PlayStation 2, and yada yada. You know what I'm saying? They had memory cards that you can take out of the PlayStation 1 and put into your PlayStation 2. It's not like they don't know what backwards compatibility is. They just don't want to do it.
Yeah.
They had to make a backwards compatibility team after they shipped the console. So, yeah. Sorry, PlayStation, but you're getting second place in my eyes. You can have first place in somebody else's, but not mine.
They want that money. They want that money for the remasters and the remakes and $70, yeah.
I mean, even this new Dead Space one that's coming out that everyone's raving about, I'm just like, dude, it's the same thing as The Last of Us. And some people are like, they're super mad about The Last of Us, but they're okay with Dead Space. And I'm like, dude, it's the same idea.
Ooh,
they're spiffing it up.
I can't
repackaging
talk about that one.
And sending it back to you. And if you may not be able to talk about it, but I can. You might not be able to talk about it, and I'm going to respect that. I understand this is my show, but I'm not going to disrespect you by having you talk about something you ain't supposed to be talking about. I will talk about it. I don't like remasters being the same price as a brand new game that you've never played before. I'll just never get behind that. Remake, remaster, I don't care. It's the same damn game. Same ending. For the most part. The cool thing about Dead Space, I'll give it its flowers though, is they do have a talking protagonist though now. They did not have that in the original game. And they also did probably a lot more redoing of things than they did in The Last of Us. Maybe the mechanics, I don't know, possibly. But I know in scenery, they changed up a lot of the scenery in the new Dead Space game. But moving on, I don't want to make you talk about it because you probably shouldn't. What are some games that you're anticipating for each of these consoles? That being Switch, PS5, Series S and X. Go.
Switch, I gotta be honest with you, pretty much nothing. It's just my homebrew console at this point. PS5. I don't know. I'm gonna be honest. There's nothing I can think about PS5.
Oh my God! So Spider-Man, you don't care about that?
No, I do.
Stellar Blade?
No, not Stellar Blade. No. But Spider-Man, yeah. Wolverine. Even that's far away though. But Wolverine.
Yeah, it's really far away. Away. I'd say 2024, 2025 on that one.
Yeah.
Far away.
Anything Marvel related, sure. Absolutely. Count me in that bucket. Xbox, I'm really looking forward to Fable a lot. I'm a huge Fable fan.
Fable's fire, yeah.
Yeah. Love Fable. I'm looking forward to Starfield. I love Bethesda's, kind of RPG games. I'm looking forward to Redfall. We interviewed some of the voice actors from there, so I got a good feeling about that game. Um, Trying to think third party wise, what I'm looking forward to.
They got there's one third party game that I'm really looking forward to, Space Marine. That game looks fire.
I heard a lot of people talk about it. I didn't look that one up.
Jedi Survivor.
Yeah, I gotta be honest. I'm looking forward to that, but I might play a little bit later. I might not do that one at launch.
Okay. What's another one that's right on the tip of my tongue? I can't think of it. Assassin's Creed is coming out with that old school type.
Yeah,
Are you looking forward to anything like that?
Yeah, I love Ubisoft. So yes, Assassin's Creed. Yeah, any future Far Cries. There was something that, oh man,
Suicide Squad.
yes, looking forward to that. There was just something I was talking to. I think with
Hogwarts.
that's yep. I was talking to that one with Flamish and Graphic God. Hogwarts for sure. Looking forward to it. Not because I'm a Harry Potter fan, but
I'm not a Harry Potter fan at all. I can't wait though.
But the open world in that game looks beautiful. And that's what gets me every time is the open world stuff, man. I'm an open world kind of guy in those games.
Same. That's more or less the reason I'm looking forward to it. Is just like I want to see like it looks so damn majestic, to be honest. It looks majestic, it looks really clean. I'm not a Harry Potter fan, not even slightly. My wife is, so she can't wait to play it, but I just can't wait to play it just to see where gaming is, going in the eyes of like something like this. Cause I mean, there are Harry Potter games back in the day that came out and whatnot, but it seems like this is not going to be anything like any of those games. In fact, this game is supposed to be in the setting of before Harry Potter was even around, I believe.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think 200 years before.
Really interesting to see the kind of world that was happening before he even came through, right? A lot of stuff to uncover. So now I need to ask you about your history a little bit with in content creation and whatnot, because that's a whole different bucket of worms that we need to tackle. And I'm kind of curious what got you into it in the first place, because you already told me about, the history of each of these consoles. Even, you said you got online with the Super Nintendo. You played a ton of, different Sega's systems and whatnot. You're breaking PlayStations. So like
breaking PlayStation.
so now I need to know, like, at what point did you decide to actually hop into the content creation space? Was it sometime around the whole Rainbow Six-ish kind of area where you got your squad and whatnot? Did you do it then, or was it a little bit later? How'd you come across wanting to be in front of, a microphone or a camera or both?
To be honest with you, maybe when I did play Rainbow Six and we recorded the matches, I felt like we were doing something cool and sending it in. I mean, it wasn't like the YouTube kind of content creation, right? But people would see the matches and stuff and comment on them. So that was kind of fun. But I think what really got me into it was when I had met some former friends, unfortunately, who I'm no longer friends with, but we kind of like had this idea. Well, one had an idea to do a podcast, and I came up with the name of it. And then I got all the guests on the show, and I got the website put up. And um, I think from there, it was just kind of like, this is fun. I like doing it. I like talking about my hobby. And for me, it's not, I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of people sometimes get into this because they want to get some type of return on their content or some type of whatever it may be, whether it's the viewership return, whether it's the financial incentives from YouTube or whatever. They get excited about that. But for me, My passion is just being able to try and create great conversation and trying to meet some cool people, right? Like I'm more into meeting new guests and getting guests on the show than I am about the return on investment or the return on viewership. Because
Same.
to me, I remember, well, like first year into our podcast, I got in touch with Steve Downs and I told him, I was like, hey, we got this little
That's
podcast.
insane. That's
Yeah.
freaking insane.
I was like, we got this little podcast and I'd love to talk to you, man. Like, you're just, you have an iconic voice for the Master Chief. I mean, his voice acting is phenomenal, right? And he's like, sure.
Synonymous.
I got him on. And I was like, wow, I just talked to the guy who did Master Chief. This is awesome. This is great. And then right after that, I caught this bug where I was like, you know what? Let's constantly email different celebrities and people in the industry and see who would want to come on. Then I got Michael Mentime, who created Mutant League Football. He came on. Like, that was really exciting because I'm a huge fan of that. Got Jay Bartlett. He did Nintendo Quest on Amazon. If you ever watched it on Prime Video, the Nintendo Quest, like, it was a pretty big documentary at the time. He came on, talked to us. He does a Star Wars podcast. Now he's big into toys. And we still talk on Facebook. Like, this is so cool meeting these people. And that's what kept it going for me, man. It's just like the guests, to be honest. And I met a lot of great people on the panel too. Like, Lemon's a part of 4GQ TV, and a lot of people in GUG get involved and they come on as guests, and a lot of support as well from different people. And it's just like, that's awesome, man. Like, it's just awesome meeting the people. I could just honestly, even if I just one day just turned the camera off and just did voice podcasts and just uploaded some random service, I'm still excited. Like, I'm still excited because I got to talk to somebody. And these past 2 years, man, we met some really, really cool people like Siobhan Hewlett, who's the actress and a voice actor. We met Allison Packard, who won Voice Actors Awards this past year. I talked to AJ from Delilah Studios, who created Battletoads. I mean, um, Courtney Lynn, who's been a part of Neon White and other projects, and Monster High. Um, we just got to talk to Chris Sarandon, who was in Fright Night and Nightmare Before Christmas, and like, that blows my mind because here I am, and I'm just an average guy when it comes to asking people, right? I'm just an average person, no
Right.
different than you or anybody else in this chat. And these people are taking their time to come on the show and talk to us. That's just amazing, man. Like,
It is.
it's really cool. And I this past year or this past year and a half, I met Jimmy Palmiotti. And he's not only a film producer, but he's also a well-known comic book artist. He had a lot to do with Suicide Squad and Harley Quinn, the movies. He helped out on sets with the writing and stuff and fixed stuff. So that was really cool. And, I'm going to be honest with you. Tonight, I just heard back from Jenna Ortega's agents, right?
Wow.
It doesn't mean she's going to come on, but they took the time to message me back and forward my email to more people in our inner circle. So to me, that's cool, man.
You're absolutely right. It is nuts, man. Like, bro, like, I reached out to Harvey Smith and he actually reached back out to me. And I was just like, whoa, the head of Arcane is talking to me right now.
Yeah.
Like, this is freaking nuts. Like, he is just like, yo, man, like he kept it honest. He's just like, yo, man, there's a lot of stuff going down. Obviously, Redfall. But he's like, there's a lot of stuff going down. I'd be happy to do it, but we'll need to talk sometime in the near future after things calm down a little bit. And I was like, fair enough. I was like, fair enough. I had Jerry Hook on my show a few months back as well. Really dope dude. One of the lead designers of Halo Infinite. he recently left there, made his own studio, Jar of Sparks, with several different game developers and stuff like that from different studios and stuff like that. And they're getting some stuff done under NetEase right now. That's where they made their dev team, under NetEase. And dude, they're going to be pumping out some console games and whatnot. And he was really interesting to talk to. He actually interviewed me like a little bit before I even got to interview him live and everything like that. He had questions for me and whatnot, making sure that I'm not like some crazy troll or whatnot, right? Because
Yeah.
I mean, they got to vet us before they even get it, before they allow themselves to show themselves on people's podcasts and whatnot, because they don't want to give themselves a terrible look or whatnot, especially with a show like this where it's live and I could say something, or I could trip somebody into saying something that they're not supposed to be saying. I don't want to do that. I want this to be super duper comfortable for my guests. I want it to be comfortable for me. I don't want anybody to regret coming here. I don't want to send that message at all. So it was really cool having him come onto the show. And then after the show and during the show, he's talking about how happy he is to be here, how cool of a person he thought I was and whatnot. And it's just like, dude, you're a big developer and you're talking about me right now. That's just insane, in my opinion, right? Like this dude, like Jerry Hook in particular, he was one of the founders for Xbox Live. This dude's talking to me right now. Like, this is nuts. So I feel exactly what you're saying, man. I'm just a regular old dude that's from Nebraska living in Iowa. And I'm sitting here talking to people that develop games for people around the world.
Yeah.
Insane. Truly insane. But yeah, so that was kind of your start and get into it. But what was like the drive, I guess? What was like I mean, obviously you said you hooked up with some friends and whatnot, but didn't you feel the sense of like nervousness or like the sense of, oh, I don't think this is going to amount to much? Or like, what was like the feeling that you were having during this time period of, just getting up and running? Because it's hard getting out the door. You can talk about it all you want, right? But doing it's a whole nother thing. So describe what it's like to, get into content creating for the first time and then, started from the bottom. Now I'm here.
So when I think about this, and I think about the stuff that makes me nervous or the things that I think could be a hard time or drawbacks to it, is the fact that there are people that you reach out to and it's a little intimidating, because if they said no or didn't respond, like, some of these people you kind of like really want to get on, right? You look up to them, and if you don't hear back, it's kind of like, oh man, I didn't, you know what I mean? Like, it's a little disappointing feeling. Um, there was one guest that I was nervous about having on, and she's really cool. She's a cool person in real life. Rachel Seltzer. She was one of the Ubisoft frag dolls, one of the originals, and she came on, and the interview was great, but my co-hosts, they the way that they spoke to her wasn't in the sense that I thought that I would speak to someone, right? Like, they kind of like said stuff that it just bothered me. To this day, it still bothers me. Like, how does someone get a gamer girl like you? And I'm like thinking to myself, why would you ask somebody that, dude? Why? What is going on? This is
Do
not
you
about
mind?
that.
Do you mind if I ask you what the question was?
That's the question my co-host asked.
What
That's
was it?
literally the question my co-host asked. So we had a guy on the panel who was he was very introverted, and my co-host at the time asked her, how would so and so get a gamer girl like you.
Oh no.
And I'm like, really?
Ooh.
And I like my face dropped on camera, right? Because that's not something you do. You don't ask somebody that.
The professionalism went out the window.
I apologize for that. We still talk, the guest and I still talk a little bit after that. So, but I learned something that day. The thing that I learned is that sometimes people accidentally could sabotage the interview without even realizing what they're doing. Like they just don't like the guy that did this. I don't think he truly realized the kind of question he was asking. I think
Well,
this is
yeah, he
just
didn't understand the levity of the situation.
yeah, I think this was just his personality and it was coming to light. And, I had to change the topic. I had to apologize. I had to follow up with an email apology. Not like the person got mad at me and not like the person said they would never come back on or anything, but it's still at the time, it was like, I'm scared to get anybody else on it now, Like, how are they going to treat the next person I get on? So from then on, I kind of
Well,
had a
it's like the equivalent of you inviting somebody in your household. They're having a good time, and your neighbor comes inside the household. You're all having a good time, and your neighbor slaps the shit out of your guests.
yeah,
And it's like, how am I going to invite this person back over now? Thanks a lot.
yeah.
You just ruined what was great, and really, you didn't have to be here.
Yeah. So that was that. I mean, that was one of the lowest points I had, I think. And I was like, should I still get people on after this? Like it was a real hard decision for me because I did not, because I knew myself that if anybody ever tried to talk to me in some way like that, I'd be like, wow, that's unprofessional. Like you're trying to have a professional show and it's not going where you think it's going. You know, yeah, that kind of sucked. And the other drawbacks that I think are sometimes, if you don't have a good crew around you when you start out podcasting, there's a lot of things that people say in the background in podcasting circles. And a lot of times it's not true or it's hearsay. And they talk, because they don't like something you've done, or maybe you didn't agree with them on something, and it just becomes this starts out like this small little thing that turns into this big thing. And a lot of times it ruins like it could ruin friendships if you're not solid with the people beforehand. So I would say that's another drawback to podcasting, right? Like that's why I'm not in it for views or financial returns. I'm in it to try and make friends, to try to meet guests, if that makes sense.
No, it
'Cause
makes
I've
total sense
seen,
because that's what I'm here doing right now. I'm literally doing that right now.
yeah. There's a lot of downsides, and you got to have good people around you to keep your head up sometimes when people go haywire on you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So a couple more questions in this specific subject. The first one being, how do you think gaming and content creation has helped you become a better person all around? Like what like features or aspects of gaming and content creation do you think really helped like fix something about you that you know always wanted to kind of tweak a little bit?
This kind of goes deep, because there's lots I mean, some people know about my past with certain things, right? But they don't know how deep those places were for me. So, number one with gaming, it took me out of a depressive black hole. After I had lost my father, I think I was in a depressive black hole probably for man a good 4 or 5 years. Like I was just
God damn.
yeah, like it was really bad. Like the grief was really bad because I was really close to my dad. And when I got talking on gaming, it kind of alleviated that, and I made some really good friends that pulled me out of that situation. And I'll never forget my first my f- like, to this day, even if we don't talk, when we talk, we're like it's like we never were apart. Like, you know what I mean? Like that kind of friendship. And
Mm.
his name is Edge. He's one of the nicest guys. Um, one of the strongest guys I've ever looked up to. He's helped me out through a lot, and I think I've helped him out through a lot. And after my dad passed away, and I had met him, um, he kind of guided me in some aspects on how to work through things and work through grief, and he did something very kind for me. He invited me to the Hamptons. He had a house in the Hamptons, in East Hampton, and without even knowing me, like except for online, he invited me out to his house, and he invited me out to all his parties in East Hampton, all his dad's parties and stuff. And I think that kind of turned my life around a little bit, just being around people and that kindness that he showed me, because he showed me a lot of kindness. And gaming at the same time also, I know some people talk about, how do I say this? Because I'm being really real here, and this is probably the first podcast I'm ever saying this on. This is the first podcast I'm ever saying this on him.
Okay.
And I'm being completely honest with you here. So, growing up, I was around a lot of different wise guys. Like, if you picture Goodfellas, right?
Yeah.
Like, that was my childhood essentially. And if it wasn't for gaming after my dad passed away, I could have ended up in that lifestyle 3 times. 3 times I could end in that lifestyle. But gaming kept me so busy that I would just play games all the time. And I never had time to be out there at social clubs or at on the streets. Um, and I remember sometimes, even when I got invited to a party at a social club or something, whether it was in Philly or New York City, all I could think about was just getting back on to Black Arrow and playing with my friends. Like,
Mm.
I was not, even though I was there, like my mind wasn't there. And gaming kept me out of that, and gaming really probably saved me from a different kind of lifestyle. And that
Man,
and that's the God's honest truth here.
bruh, that's very dope. That actually gives me thoughts of a similar interview that I had, um, sure with Lemon, but also with King David. I mean, it's like I'm hearing similar things, just different, types of settings. Gaming kept you inside when you were not supposed to be outside,
Yeah.
essentially. And the importance of that, I think, is underappreciated sometimes, because I mean, you hear it from your most basic person on the street all the way up to your high level NFL, MLB, FIFA players. People doing some stupid shit because their minds aren't in the right place.
Yeah.
Right?
And I had just suffered, 4 years of grief, right? So like I was in a black hole, and
So it could have been easy to fall in it.
oh, I mean, I had play I think I had a guardian angel sometimes, because there were things that did happen, and whether you want to believe it's God, the universe, karma, whatever it was, it got me out of these situations. Like, I mean, I was in some pretty pretty tough situations, man. Like some really bad situations, and it was just like got me out of there. And then I just go home, and the next night I wouldn't go out with those people or wouldn't go out and do those things. I just play video games instead. I
Did
remember
you
I still have a great memory of one time where I did not go back to Philadelphia the next day, and I remember this kid cursing me off in Italian, yelling at me, and he was saying like some really nasty stuff that I won't repeat. And I just told him, I was like, dude, you know what? You go do what you want to do with your life, but what you're about to do, I'd rather be playing Black Arrow right now. I'd rather be on Xbox. And then they would just be like, "Oh yeah, well, you're not gonna make money playing video games. You know what? Who cares? I'm not. I'm alive right now." So,
And that ended up
but
not being true either.
yeah,
So that's awesome, man. That's awesome. And one thing I wanted to do real quick, which is kind of a new thing that I wanted to start throwing out on each of these interviews that I do with people, is I want to do shout outs. So, and what I mean by that is I want you to go on ahead and shout out some of the people that were there for you day one. Some people that really helped you, make your move into this gaming scene. And obviously, some of the people that empower you today to keep moving. Do you have some names?
yeah. Liquid Edge, shout out to him.
Yeah, that's
He
who
was
you were
one of
just
the
talking about.
yeah, he was one of the first people that kept me away from some things. Todd, aka Liquid Midnight, he's no longer with us, but he was a very good dude. He also was always looking out for me. Um, Want to say my friend Bruce, he helped me a lot too at the time. Um, a lot of times when I'd go to East Hartford, Connecticut, he was the one guy that always stood by my side to make sure nothing happened. And he would always talk to me about getting involved in different things, whether it be writing or drawing or video games. So he was another dude. My friend Liquid Stogue, he helped me learn how to program early on. He still talks to me to this day. He's helped me out a lot. Um, and it's like there's a lot of daily challenges when you come from that kind of background. There's people today that still keep you grounded, right?
Mhm.
No matter how crazy or whack you feel in the moment. And those people deserve the same kind of praise too. And Dragonheart Yobi is one of those guys who's always kept me grounded when things got heated. Graphic God, my friend Jeepers, Lemon, um, Flamish, even though he loves to annoy me sometimes on purpose. um, like these are the dudes that when I'm getting at it, when I'm, that those flashbacks happen or I get upset about something. These are the dudes that keep me grounded and keep me focused and keep me going and just point me in the right direction. They're the guys that are like, don't fall back into that way of thinking. Just keep moving forward.
Absolutely. Man, that's dope. That was a lot of shout outs right there. So I want you to take a mental step back and just look at what you've created. Like that's a circle right there of just good people for you. And you made that in the time of a few years of doing this, YouTube stuff, whether it be 20 years or just the last couple of years, whether it be either one of them. You formed yourself something to be proud of and also something to call on when things are a little less than great. So,
Yeah,
I mean, that's definitely something that you ought to be proud of, brother.
another guy I can't forget. He's been really, really special. He's like a brother. Is PK, man. Like, you know, he's another dude I talk to every day, and he just gives it to me straight. He tells me if I'm thinking a little off or if I'm going in the right direction. So I got to be thankful for him too.
That's dope. And I'm sure there's some other people as well in the back of your head that haven't been spitted out or whatnot, but shout out to everyone that's been there to help you along your journey to become who you are today. And I'm seeing the love in the chat. In fact, Dragonheart Yobi says, at TSWS Gaming, Clowns, you must really Clowns must really like you. He doesn't open up a lot to a lot of people. Trust, love you, love to see this for real. Really appreciate that comment. Dope from Yobi, and then Lemon, saying his usual things, facts and preach. And then Yobi comes back with it. I love you, Clowns. Spooky, appreciate and love you, brother Clowns. You're a real one. Rockin' warrior. You're priceless, Clowns. I mean, you got a lot of love, bro. You got a lot of love. So just keep doing what you're doing. You're doing it for the right reasons. And I'm here to, push forward my support for whatever you got going on. Cause I really like your aura. It's really nice. It's really original. It's just relaxing. It doesn't tense me up at all. I don't feel uncomfortable asking you certain things. So, I mean, the stuff I've heard about you are ringing in as true for me. And I really appreciate that. Thank you so much again for coming on the show, but let's go on ahead and continue with a few other questions before we get out of here. Cool?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So I like to call these kind of questions just kind of more or less like run and gun kind of questions because they're fairly quick, fairly easy, not as long and drawn out as some of the past questions throughout the show up to now. So the next one I'm going to have to ask you is, of all of the consoles that you had, what was hands down probably the most memorable one?
Super Nintendo.
Why?
Super Mario World.
With Yoshi and everything?
Yep.
Okay.
And that theme music in the beginning. It's my ringtone for my phone.
He still hasn't put the Super Nintendo down, so he's still rocking with it. That's cool. All right. And then my next question is, what gaming genre do you refuse or don't really enjoy playing? So the way I like to set this question up every single time is, let's say you walk in to Best Buy and they have the games sorted out in genres like they should. As of right now, they should have games sorted out in genre. And I'm going to keep saying that until that happens in the future. But let's say you walk into the store and they have it sorted out by genres. What genre are you just flat out walking right by and not playing?
Anime fighting games.
Sorry, what was that?
Anime fighting games.
Oh my God. So like a Naruto.
Yeah, I'm walking right past that. Dragon Ball Z, walking right past that. I'm sorry, I see you on Dragon Ball Z. I know.
Do you not like anime, or do you just not like anime games?
I think the fighting games I don't like. The open world anime games are great, but the fighting games that are anime, I just can't get into them because I don't understand all the characters' superpowers, and I think some of them are too exaggerated for me.
Dang, Lemon said sports. I wouldn't have thought he'd say that, seeing that he plays Madden. I know he has like every damn 2K. So you mean like after you buy it, then you'll walk by that section? Lemon, is that what you're saying? I don't know. But anyways, shout out to John Wolf, came through just now. He says, "Good evening, hand clowns. I hope you guys are you guys have a great Christmas and much success and help and in health for 2023." Thank you so much for that, John Wolf. You're an excellent creator as well. I was happy to have you on my show. I believe it was last year. No, it was earlier this year, I think, actually. But anyways, it was a pleasure having you on. It was you're a fantastic dude. I hope you keep pumping out content and keep featuring on the shows that you're featuring on, brother. But brother, all right. So you said anime fighting games are what you're walking by in the store. Is there any other genre that you're walking by? That's rhythm the first games. Genre, though.
Rhythm games.
See, rhythm games would probably be the first thing I'd walk by. That whole dance stuff never. I'm good. But is that the kind of rhythm games are you talking about? Or are you talking about like, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, and also when I say rhythm games too, like those kind where you gotta hit the buttons at a time sequence, and that's the
I was
whole
gonna say
game.
Metal
Like,
Hellsinger.
yeah, I passed that one too.
Okay, so it doesn't matter if you're using the controller or dancing on a pad. You don't want to play a rhythm game.
Yeah, no, not for me.
Fair enough. All right. Next would have to be, what is the best 3 games that you played this past year? It doesn't have to be games that came out this past year. Just the best 3 games that you played this year.
Days Gone, High on Life, and Persona 5.
Persona's up there for me as well too. I spent like 140-50 hours in that game recently to beat it, and there's only one fight that I didn't do in that whole game, and that was fucking Maruki. I hated it. That fight lasts like an hour and a half or 2 hours. I'm not doing a fight that lasts that long. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Because I lost it like 3 separate times about 45 minutes in. And I was just like, you know what? I'm done with this. I washed my hands with it, deleted it, it's gone. But I did beat the main story and got a few different endings throughout it. Because, you know, you know how you can save it? And then like you save it upstairs or whatnot, and then you can walk downstairs and end up talking to Maruki and Akechi and all of them guys and whatnot. But yeah, I did beat the main storyline. The main story was phenomenal. Even the DLC was phenomenal. I just didn't like the last fight. That was it. Literally just that last fight. I hated it. The part that anyways, yeah, you get it. But anyways, so that was your top 3 games of this year. Which one would you say is the best out of the 3?
Persona 5. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed that one. I really like the story. I like the aspects. I like the mechanics. I like the fact that, you know, you had a vast array of characters to roam around with you, and it felt like there was a lot of different mechanics in that style of game, and I think they did a great job with it.
Yeah, that game was all over the place, from burger challenges to Hawaii, all the way to freaking like drug dealing going on in the game. Like that game was freaking nuts. It was everywhere. It was literally just everywhere. Like there was not just one thing that you did, and there was a lot of different things that you had to level up. Like whether it's kindness and all that stuff, guts and stuff, or like the relationships between between you and the characters, and knowing who to have the relationships with is probably the toughest part of that game.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Okay, so then one of one of my favorite questions, which is, if you were to take a time machine, go back in the time, grab 2 games, and then have them make it in today's age, so like 2 dead IPs, and you brought them to the future, and had them be AAA, you know, type of games, what would those games be?
Kid Chameleon.
You really like that game.
Oh, I love that game. It's one of the best games I played on Genesis. And I really, you know, it's more of a, it's not really a popular game, but Liberty or Death. I really like that on Super Nintendo. And I would really like to see them turn that more to a turnstile type of game.
Wow, those are 2 games I'd never thought I'd hear. on this
Yeah, I know.
podcast. What the hell? Like, I thought you would like reach back and say something a little more well known by like a general crowd, but you went in for some real personal games for you. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
Really cool. Kid Chameleon, I mean, that's pretty well known. But anyways, yeah, that's awesome. So now here's kind of a daunting question, I guess, or one of the more daunting questions I have on this show, and it kind of touches more on a real subject. What about gaming frustrates you personally? And this can be anything. So it can be from literally the game, the console, the people who make it, the communities behind these games, the community as a whole, whatever.
I think, okay, so there's two things that kind of frustrate me a little bit, right?
Okay.
Number one is people that really flame the console wars to turn it into a profit for them. I don't like that. There's a lot of people out there that use the console war to get views, to get money, to get donations. And that it kind of bothers me, to be honest with you, because the problem is for me is that sometimes the people viewing those videos, they think that the content creator really means what they say, and then those people take it to another extreme, and then they're like, yeah, this and that, and then they go call developers names and make crazy threats, and so that bothers me, right? And I'm not talking about the people that we know on Twitter and whatnot. There's YouTubers with millions of views on their videos that do this too, and they're a lot bigger than what we see just on Twitter. I mean, like, there's guys out there with like millions and millions of subscribers that do this too. So I think that's a problem because they have an audience and there's no responsibility there. And not like there has to be. There's freedom of speech, but at the same time, you don't know who's coming to watch your video, and you don't know what that person could be capable of. You know, and I say it like this, and maybe this is kind of like thinking a whole different level, but in today's world, when you bully somebody and then that person goes crazy and does something, the bully ends up getting charged as well, just as the person who might do something crazy.
Right.
And I think that that potential in this kind of environment in social media hasn't been looked at before, but I think it's eventually going to happen. And I
Oh,
think,
easily.
yeah, and I don't think it's going to stop because there's profit from it. It's not going to stop until somebody says, "Listen, it's we got to make a law on this," and that would be a sad day if a law has to pass. I would rather just YouTube or the platform start demoting this kind of console war stuff rather than a law having to be passed eventually. But eventually, mark my words, I also predict the loot box laws. A law will eventually pass where it's going to become illegal, probably do or say certain things that can cause an uprising in people. And it is what it is. That's one thing that bothers me. Second thing I would say, and it's not a super bad thing, right? But I'm a little disappointed that a lot of the developers that are first party developers or executives in the PlayStation community, they don't really interact with their fans as much as, let's say, the Xbox executives and the Xbox marketing team.
True.
And I think that's a loss for PlayStation. It's a loss because you're losing communication with fans that would value that kind of contact. They would value that kind of thing, and the fans always want to be seen in some sense, and Xbox has done a phenomenal way of doing that.
Yeah, I mean, you're not lying. I mean, sure, PlayStation's doing fine. They're doing fairly well, but imagine if they listened more.
Yeah.
If they were more, as people say, outside. You know, having more of these one-on-ones, interviews, and, you know, just being upfront with the fans. I feel like that's really kind of been hurting PlayStation more than many people really realize. Because, I mean, I hear it all the time from people that are technically fanboys. Where's PlayStation? Where are they at? Why aren't they saying anything? Why is it that, you know, we get these like fixes and ideas after the fact, like too late? Like, for instance, the rewards program. PlayStation wasn't, I mean, Xbox wasn't the first ones to have rewards program. PlayStation had rewards program a long time ago, but they dropped it. They gave up on it. PlayStation had backwards compatibility a long time ago, but they dropped it. They've had cloud gaming. They've dropped the ball. You see where I'm going with this? They don't listen exactly. They they listen enough to what they think is good, but in reality, they end up having to fix shit later that they could have just came out with from the get-go. I mean, like the rewards program I was just talking about and the backwards compatibility thing. Like I was saying earlier, how do you go into the console generation and then make a backwards compat team? That's just so ass backwards to me. Like, you'd think that that's something you'd want implemented in from the jump street instead of saying, oh crap, we believe in generations, and then having to go back on what you say and stuff like that. Or we don't like subscription services. They smush two together and then give you question marks whether they're going to put like first party kind of stuff in it in the near future or whatnot. Or PC is probably the biggest question mark here, because it's just like you guys went from saying a few years on your games. Now it's a year till the game comes out. And then even that's a question mark to be like, all right, well, what happens if the game doesn't sell like gangbusters on the PlayStation? You're probably going to rush it out to PC. Let's cut the cap. You guys are doing this to have two separate reveals and try to make crazy money on the reveals. We know what you're doing. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not a crazy thing to think about. We know what you're doing. You're trying to get that money, and I don't hate that, but it seems a little slimy at the same time too, because it's just like, why the hell does this person get to play this thing first, and I'm sitting here waiting with my money, knowing damn well you can give it to me, but you don't want to yet. Just kind of slimy a little bit, in my opinion. But so you nailed that part of the question, but the second part of the question is, what would be a dream come true for you in gaming?
I'm sorry, Lemon. I'm gonna say sorry to Lemon in the chat right now, right? I would like to see a future where cloud gaming becomes a bigger platform than it is today. And I'm not trying to scare away hardware enthusiasts, okay? I'm trying to say this from a point where I think that the infrastructure is getting there. I predicted with 5G that 5G is going to be fast enough to run xCloud. And a lot of people said, oh, no, you're wrong, Clowns. You're wrong, Clowns. I said it on Console Corner. I said it on an older podcast I was on with some famous PlayStation guys. I said it on many other podcasts at the time. And they were like, no, you're wrong. And I knew 5G was going to be the breaking point where cloud gaming was going to be really good for people with 5G access. I think that Microsoft is setting themselves up right now to help alleviate some of the burden in third world countries with the capabilities of cloud gaming, because they are launching satellites over Africa, as well as they just purchased the fiber cable company, right? So if you think about it, you're going to have satellites over Africa that are probably like Starlink to help with internet speeds. You bought a fiber cable company just recently, and you can use that to create, let's say, a tower that picks up off the satellite, runs the fiber through local communities, and bam, you have a great service. So I think we're going to get to the point where cloud gaming, or whether it's over your phone, whether it's on your tablets, wherever you are, is going to become accessible for everyone. We got Starlink, Microsoft satellites, we got fiber rolling out, we got Comcast in Philly with 10 gigs down and 10 gigs up right now in trial areas. So it's happening. It's going to happen. And the reason why I think that's a good thing, and I'm sorry for all the hardware enthusiasts, because I love my hardware too, and I love my graphics cards. Don't get me wrong, but graphics cards are skyrocketing in price with inflation. And you got people that are hoarding them, and you got people stockpiling them. You got scalpers. That's another problem. We've seen that with the PS5. So if you take away the problem of companies having to build hardware at a
Accessibility.
loss, yeah, like they're not building the hardware at a loss anymore, right? People don't have to invest in high value dollar items or fight for them. And you can play games in 4K and potentially 8K in the future over streaming devices with low latency. I mean, in parts of South Korea, I believe they got 6G out now. So, and there's low latency, like 1 millisecond or less. So why can't it happen? And why won't it happen? It's the consumer and the gaming companies win. Gaming companies win because they spend less money on the hardware. They don't take a loss. They have DRM, right? They don't have to worry about people pirating their games as much or anything like that. For consumers, it's a lower entry price point. You don't have to buy hefty hardware. You don't have to fight scalpers. You don't have to go online. Just get a device and go.
Or even have the right TV.
But yeah, or even have the right TV. See, Lemon says no 4K. It's gonna happen. The future is there. It's gonna happen with 4K. It's gonna happen with 8K. It's gonna happen. You know, it's gonna happen. You might not see it, but it will happen, man.
Shout out to John Wolf in the chat again. He says cloud gaming is definitely the future. I'll always buy a console as long as there is one, but we gotta be real. Yeah, absolutely. You got to be real about this. I mean, that is literally the direction that gaming is going. Is accessibility is probably the biggest term out right now. You see all the accessibility things that were just in God of War. You see all of the accessibility complaints that there were about Elden Ring. You see the accessibility of getting in on cloud gaming, the way that PlayStation is getting into mobile gaming. You see, like, accessibility is the word right now. And that's what everybody is trying to jump on so they can make sure that they shift their crowds in the right direction and gain more fans and popularity as well. The way Xbox is moving, I mean, it's insane. All the places they're at. I mean, I just got done playing this game called like Microsoft Jewel or something on my phone, and I had no idea they had their own like Candy Crush kind of thing or whatnot. But I was getting paid to play this game real quick, just to get in a quick achievement for like my Microsoft rewards or whatnot. And it's just weird how they're kind of pulling you into the circle, and PlayStation is doing it as well with buying 4 different games and getting better customer service, which to me is insane. But they're doing it. They're trying to reel you in to their platform and then give you a bunch of different directions to run with it, with VR, mobile games, cloud gaming, the actual console itself. The only thing that I feel that Xbox is crushing PlayStation on is not needing the console itself.
Mm-hmm. It's helped sell a lot of S's as well, right? I mean, phenomenally well. And I see Lemon in the chat defending the not today bro stance. And I understand that. Look, listen, Blockbuster felt that way about Redbox, and they felt that way about Netflix. They're like, not today, bro. And now how many Blockbusters are left? One. What you call it? Best Buy was like, oh yeah, we're never gonna stop selling CDs. Well, guess what happened? Everything's gone digital. Apple, Spotify, movie companies going digital.
Yeah.
It's the way of the future, man.
Yeah, tapes will never beat record or vinyls and whatnot. And then tapes did, but vinyls ended up, and then people were also saying, well, vinyls will, once they're gone, they'll never come back. They're still being sold today. Vinyls are one of the most popular things to get at a game store. It's weird. You go into game stores and you see hundreds of vinyls sitting around of brand new music. Old music too, of course. But you'll see like the latest Kendrick Lamar album on a freaking vinyl.
It's because they found a way to make money off the nostalgia aspect of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's just like those mini Segas and all those other things. It's just like nostalgia always wins. That's why PlayStation ended up making a backwards compatibility team. They seen what Xbox was doing, flexing on that backwards compatibility. And they're like, oh shit, we done made a mistake. We got all this shit streaming and ain't nobody want to play it. They want to play native. man, fuck that streaming shit. But anyways, I like I'm cool with streaming if that is one way. It has to be a piece of the pie. It can't be the main course. And playing PlayStation 3 games on the PlayStation and also PlayStation 2, PlayStation 1 and all that stuff, I can't throw my disc in, but I can play it on the cloud. And if I have bad internet that day, I'm screwed. I don't like that. I do like cloud gaming, but it has to be a slice of the pizza. It can't be the whole damn pizza. That's why that's why Stadia failed. Is the whole damn pizza. All right. Well, that is all the questions that I have for you this evening, brother. And one last time, I just got to tell you while we're on the stream that I really appreciated your time. Thank you for, doing whatever you did with your planner and jotting me down and coming through on the show, talking about all this different stuff, even talking about some stuff that you've never talked about on other podcasts before. I really appreciate you being willing and coming in here with open arms, brother. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fun being here, man.
Awesome. For one, and also one last time, going ahead and let everybody know whether they've seen you before or not. Just going ahead and shout out where you're at, where your content is, where you like to game, all that stuff, just like you did at the beginning of the show.
Yeah, you can find me at ITALIAN CLOWNZ on Twitter, and you can find our podcast at 4GQ TV on YouTube. And we got some interviews coming up, so stay tuned.
Okay. And then the one very last thing I like to do to every single person before I get off the show is I ask them specifically, and I'm going to ask you the same question. Describe gaming in just 3 words.
Wow. I got to think of 3 words. This is tough. Exciting, fun times.
Exciting, fun times. All right. Yeah. That runs together. I like it. Yeah. I take that, brother. Thank you again, clowns. And thank you everybody in the chat for showing up, hitting the like button. Those of you that are new, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. Come back. We're going to be having some more dope shows coming on in the near future. I talk to all different people throughout gaming, whether they are really kind, upstanding gentlemen like my boy Clowns right here. I also talk to some people that are considered, fanboys and whatnot. I talk to anybody, man. I open up my space for other people to come through, spit their bars. The only thing I ask is that you keep it civil when you come over here. I ain't trying to hear any of that BS about fanboyisms. If you want to have your, console of choice and you want to hype it up, go on ahead, but don't shit on nobody else's Cheerios over here. We ain't doing that. But thank you so much, everybody, for coming through again. 4GQ TV, Italian Clowns. Thank you so much. All y'all out there, remember to do what I always tell you to do after each episode. Keep it gaming, or keep it moving. Peace out, y'all.
Welcome to the Behind Them Sticks podcast, brought to you by TSWS Gaming.
Come and talk to me, Lennard Ray. Come on. Come and talk to me. I just wanna have a conversation. No, I'm not your type of baby. Listen, I'm just saying we can rule the world, just me and you. If you could play it, won't you take a chance with me and have that conversation? I just wanna have that conversation with you. Come and talk to me. I just wanna have that conversation with you. Look, see we vibing and you know it's true. Baby, what it do? Do for me and I'ma do for you. No doubt about it, boo. See, I'm a Midwest king, looking for myself a queen. Ready to chase a dream with a dope self-esteem. You find it